Welcome back to Enjoy the Pig, the YouTube site for reviews of barbecue restaurants throughout the country. Right now, we're focusing on Kansas City barbecue. Kansas City barbecue is, I think, known nationwide as the best, and deservedly so. And today, we're going to talk about probably the most historic and best-known barbecue restaurant in the country, Arthur Bryant's. Arthur Bryant's started tracing its roots back to 1909 when they sold slabs of ribs for a quarter out of the out of a shack and I guess a trolley barn near the Garment District in Kansas City. Moved a couple times after that. In 1940, he opened up a location near the gates of 12th and Brooklyn on 17th Street in Euclid, and then moved in 1958, I believe, to their current location at 17th and Brooklyn, very right adjacent to the 17th and Vine Historic District, which wasn't always a historic district. It is now. It used to just be a bunch of empty storefronts for the projects next door, but now it's a historic district. And Arthur Bryant's was famous, and deservedly so. How can I describe Arthur Bryant's? It's not, Gates Barbecue is the refinement and the promise of black barbecue is realized at Gates Barbecue, no question. They're the best overall barbecue restaurant in Kansas City, and I think in the nation. Arthur Bryant's, however, is a museum of barbecue. It's a special place. I remember my family moved here in 1980 in Kansas City, and we, you go to Rosedale's and get your half bird and fries, or you might go to Gates and pick up a beef on bun, which came with fries, and that was a typical lunch. You'd go with your father or whatever and get your lunch. But going to Bryant's was an experience. You'd go to Bryant's and they'd have 5-gallon glass water jugs of sauce with a little bit of tinfoil on the top, and that's how they made their sauce. They cured it right in the window. They had Formica tables, and always a long line out the door waiting to get their food. It was not about efficiency. It was not about service. It was not about variety. It was strictly about the barbecue, just only about the meat, and that's what made Bryant such a great place to go. They had a unique style of serving their food. They would serve them with, hamburger dill pickles, as much white bread as you wanted, and they would wrap the whole package with some natural cut French fries and red paper with tape on it. Some of that butcher's tape. They'd use that paper tape, and that's what you got. And it was like a little kit barbecue. They do serve ribs at Bryant's. I think a few people like them. They are a typical rib that you would get at a black barbecue restaurant. And again, they're not as good as Gates, not as consistent as Gates, but they're very good. And they do serve sliced beef brisket. But that is not their specialty. Bryant's is unique in that I would say 90% of the people who order at Bryant's get the sliced pork brisket sandwich, and they serve that in what's called a combo or a combo and a half. A combo and a half is a mountain of brisket. It'd be enough easily for 3 people, but it's so good that if you order it, you're probably going to eat it all. That sandwich is what Bryant's is known for. Very simple. Their sauce is an all-natural sauce, no preservatives, and it is what Bryant's was known for. Just some historical facts about Bryant's is what makes it a unique restaurant. Calvin Trillin in the 70s reviewed it as the best restaurant in the world, and Calvin Trillin was a very well-known writer in his day, and it made Bryant's famous. So famous, in fact, that when Arthur Bryant died in 1982, that same week, the New Yorker magazine ran a cartoon showing Arthur Bryant at the pearly gates, and St. Peter says, "Did you bring the sauce?" So it's a pretty it's a pretty well known restaurant, pretty well known sauce, and it's again it's a real dining experience. Even though I don't think it's the best barbecue, even though I would say if you have to go to one barbecue restaurant, go to Gates. I would say that Arthur Bryant's is somewhere that if you're a history buff, if you're a barbecue aficionado at all, if you're just interested in seeing something that's uniquely Kansas City, if you're in the area, if you're interested in Black history, if you're interested in the history of the South, that I would say that Arthur Bryant's is a must see on any tour. This building is a historic building. The pit that they smoke the meats in is has been smoking meats continuously since 1958. It is truly a wonder to look at it. You walk in, and like I said, there's always a long line. I pretty much any time of day and night you go. I think they're open until 9 or 10 o'clock at night on weeknights, and it doesn't matter when you go. There's always a line. You go and you wait in the line, and it's a slow moving line. And you tell your barbecue cook what you want, and he pulls the meat out of the smoker out of the pit and slices it, puts it right there on your paper, and wraps it up with your fries. Puts some sauce on there with a paintbrush, and he gives it to the cashier. And that is the way that you buy your barbecue at Bryant's. It's been that way since 1940, as far as I know. Bryant's, right, again, they kind of rely on their history. They have a very exclusive, almost exclusively white clientele now. Generally, Black people will go. They'll eat it at Gates because that's where the good food is and where the good service is. Bryant's again is by comparison pretty expensive. If you go and get a combo and a half fries and a drink, you're looking at $25. That's a lot of money for a sandwich and fries. I don't care how good it is, and especially in Kansas City, you might expect to pay that much at some deli in New York, but not in Kansas City. But you get a lot for your money, and it's not the kind of place you're going to go every day. It's certainly off the beaten path. It's across from a housing projects. It's right in the hood. You've got parking is difficult. There's always a line. It's not an easy place to eat, and it's so far away from everything else that you can't really take this barbecue home. So you got to eat it right there, and you're eating it on a greasy Formica table, and frequently you got to wait to get a table. You're standing there holding your food. They've got one toilet in the whole restaurant, as far as I know. If you have to go to the bathroom, you're probably going to have to wait. So it offers no convenience whatsoever, and the service is ridiculous, but that sliced pork sandwich is a thing of wonder. It gets 3.5 stars. I'm sorry, 4 stars, and strictly for the historical value and that fantastic sliced pork sandwich, which I'll tell you what is worth the effort. Again, if you're a Kansas City local, you're probably going to eat at Bryant's maybe once a year, not that often, because it is such a hassle. And I'll tell you, since I've lived here in 1980. Bryant's used to be famous for having its burn ends right there in the line as you're waiting for your food, because you have to wait so long. They had to feed you something to keep you waiting in line. And it's not the cleanest restaurant, and it's not trying to be. It's not trying to be anything but what it is, which is an old-fashioned Black Kansas City style barbecue, and that is what they are and what they intend to be. Bryant's through the years has tried to expand to a couple more locations, but honestly, it just doesn't work for Bryant's. Bryant's has that pit, and that's where they smoke their meats, and it's pit to plate is the way you're supposed to serve that type of food. And they tried to open up a store in a casino. I think they brought in the meats and tried to keep them warm. It did not work. The food was dry and not tasty at all. They have another location I've not been to, I have to admit, out at by the racetrack in Kansas City, Kansas. That's a very white neighborhood. Don't know how that food is, but I can tell you that it really, if you're going to go to Bryant's, go to the original Bryant's, 17th in Brooklyn. You can ask anyone in Kansas City where it is; they'll tell you. It's right down the street from the old Municipal Stadium where the Royals played for 3 years, the Chiefs played, I think, for 7 or 8 years, and the Kansas City A's played from the mid-'50s until 1969. So there's a lot of history there. It's good barbecue. It's certainly worth the trip. Arthur Bryant died in 1982. His children took it over, kind of ran it into the ground for a few years, and it really got a pretty bad reputation. So by the mid 90s, Arthur Bryant's, I think at that point, was taken over by one of the Barbeque brothers that owned this chain of liquor stores here in town, which they have since sold. But they're a prominent Kansas City family, and they did a good job kind of keeping that alive. So thanks to the Barbeques, we still have Bryant's around, and thank God we do, because it's a historic place. So Bryant's gets 5 stars for its pork sandwich, and pretty much they're a one-trick pony. So their sides and other menu items gets 3 stars. They don't really have much else there except the pork sandwich. You've got, and it's not pulled pork; it is sliced pork, and you've got. Uh, 2 stars for atmosphere, but I got overall, you got to give it 4 stars because of the historical value of the restaurant, and it is a dining experience. So overall, Bryant's is going to get 4 stars, and I think well deserved. And certainly, if you're from out of town and you want the historic Kansas City barbecue, and you've already been to Gates, go to Bryant's. It's a good place to go. Thanks for watching this Enjoy the Pig review of Arthur Bryant's. Enjoy the Pig is sponsored by Uber. There's an Uber code there. It should be on your screen. If you decide to drive for Uber and use that code, you'll get up to $200, and Enjoy the Pig will get money to continue its efforts reviewing barbecue restaurants throughout the country. Thanks for watching, and enjoy.